Okay, let's discuss the NRL plan to take games to Las Vegas in 2024. Now, initially, the league wanted to have a game played in the US this season, to start this season, and the initial plan was the South Sydney Rabbitohs and the Manly Sea Eagles. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning these two teams is their ownership. The Manly Sea Eagles have the Penn family, a lot of American money. The South Sydney Rabbitohs, obviously, Russell Crowe is a big part of the ownership group at the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Now, obviously, Hugh Jackman is also a Manly Sea Eagles fan, so there's that Hollywood connection as well. There is American investment, and therefore it would be quite easy to sell those two as a product. The reason why the game didn't take place was that the South Sydney Rabbitohs felt that there wasn't a long-term plan and the logistics wasn't ready, and that was a fair point to raise. And so they said, look, we would like any future plan to be delayed by a year. Let's have some more discussion. Let's talk about the infrastructure. Let's talk about the planning, the financing, and the promotion. So the NRL have gone away, and they've had meetings. Andrew Abdo and Peter V'landys have had meetings with people in the sports world in Vegas, the betting world in Vegas, corporate world in Vegas, and the TV companies. They've had a lot of meetings. And this is their plan. There's just one big, massive elephant in the room, big issue at the moment, and that is the ongoing CBA negotiation standoff between the RLPA and the league. They haven't come to an agreement to sign off on the next CBA, which was meant to kick in at the start of next season. And currently the RLPA is having a media boycott. So there is a lot of issues back at home. In saying that, let's have a look at the proposal that the NRL has. They want to have a double header, so that's 4 teams they want to take over to Vegas. Now, I've already mentioned 2 of the teams, the Rabbitohs and the Sea Eagles. They were slated to play a game in 2023. Obviously, that didn't take place. The Sea Eagles were happy to play a game in 2023. The Rabbitohs said that we need more time, and so therefore the league's gone away and put its thinking cap on. Now, the other 2 teams that regularly in the last 2 months have been discussed as part of this doubleheader are the Roosters, Sydney Roosters, and the Brisbane Broncos, 2 of the it clubs, so to speak, 2 of the very big clubs for fan base and also financing, 2 of the wealthier clubs. The Broncos is one of the wealthiest clubs, and the Roosters is one of the wealthiest clubs in Sydney. It's one of the foundation clubs in Sydney, so it goes back over 100 years, and they're one of the most successful clubs, not just in the NRL era, but also the New South Wales Rugby League era as well, so pre-1998. They've won a lot of premierships. So the NRL has been very smart in the teams it wants to take over there. So they want to have a double header. That's doable. It's where do they play games? Now, they want to take games to Allegiant Stadium where the Las Vegas Raiders NFL team play. That's a big stadium. That's a 60,000 seater stadium. For a regular season game in the NRL, you may get 35,000 at Suncorp in the regular season. A core stadium or the Sydney Football Ground, you might get 25,000-30,000 there on your average regular season game. You may sell out Seabus Super Stadium in the Gold Coast. Queensland Country Bank up in Townsville, that's a third of the size of Allegiant Stadium. So some of the bigger stadiums and average crowd numbers, this is going to be a very interesting sell, because while the idea in principle can work, there are some pitfalls. The crowd, may not be there. It may not sell out. The 2 games may not sell out unless you play them on the same day as a back-to-back doubleheader. So, crowd numbers, promotion, actually promoting the sport to get as many locals in as possible. Now, there is a sizable expat Australian community in the US. There's a sizable Pacific Island nation community, especially on the west coast of the US. So, in that regard, you've already got people who are interested in Australasian sport, such as the AFL and the NRL and rugby union. You have that community there, but it's also getting those hardcore sports fans, those sports fans who may never have watched rugby league before, to buy tickets and watch 2 games in a stadium. That's the key. So the stadium ticket sales, how the league promotes itself. Another issue, climate. Now, Allegiant Stadium is got a roof. Vegas is in the middle of the pissing desert. Even in March, temperatures can get ridiculously hot. That may be an issue with the players because that's Australian autumn winter time. This is where the weather's getting cooler for a large portion of Australia on the east coast. Northern Queensland, not a problem. So if you were to say the North Queensland Cowboys would be one of the teams, they might acclimatise a lot better than the St George Illawarra Dragons or the Roosters or a team from the Sydney area. So the weather conditions at early mid spring in Las Vegas in Nevada, they're going to be hot, very hot. Well, they have the potential to be very, very hot and very oppressive temperatures. The mercury can hit 50 degrees Celsius, which is like 120, 130 Fahrenheit for those who work in Fahrenheit. It gets hot, very, very hot. And that can be an issue when players are coming over to acclimatise. Now, the games will be in an indoor stadium, but it's that training, it's that acclimatisation, it's getting prepared for the matches, which I think the NRL needs to consider because of the temperatures. Now, also, kickoff times. What time, US time in Vegas, and East Coast Australian time, going to kick the games off? Because the TV audience, both domestically and in the US, is going to be vitally important to sell this product. It will have to be a Saturday or a Sunday doubleheader to maximise the product. And those plans haven't been revealed. They haven't stated exactly, right, we've agreed on this date. This is the kickoff time for game 1. This is the kickoff time for game 2. They haven't stated which media partners in the US as carriers they're going to use. Is it going to be NBC? Is it going to be Fox? Is it going to be ESPN? They haven't basically come out and agreed or stated which media partners in the US are going to be the carriers. I would think Fox would be one of the carriers because of the links with Fox in Australia, but they haven't confirmed anything. So there's that to consider. And then, of course, you've got to get the RLPA on side. And because of the ongoing, drawn-out negotiations about the CBA, that is going to be interesting. Now, I'm going to circle back to the North American major leagues with their taking games overseas outside the US and Canada. That's part of their CBA because of the revenue sharing aspect of their CBA negotiations. The players have always said the experience is great playing overseas, but the preparation is horrible. They hate the disruption to their preparation. But when they actually play the games, it's very similar to it's just another game to them. It doesn't appear to be, they don't see it as a special occasion. It's just the week or days leading up to taking a game overseas is where things are different. And because there's more media commitments than they would normally have in a normal regular season game. The highlight is the NFL. This is what I'm going to discuss. The NFL players used to hate preparing for the London series games. Post-retirement, they feel they absorb the spectacle more. They enjoy it more post-retirement when they're going over with their media commitments and their ambassadorial commitments through the league or the team that they are, part of. But when they were playing and preparing, more disruptive preparation, obviously the jet lag, weather conditions being different, time of day, game start being different. That all these small things that people go, oh, but they're professional athletes. That actually has a massive bearing on the performances on the field. So how the teams prepare as well is going to be very, very interesting. The hint is that the teams involved in the Vegas games next year will get a bye week, a bye round the following week, and the rest of the league will kick off their season. So there is that. There's also the aspect of how much money potentially could be made that gets pumped back into the league. Now, with the ongoing CBA negotiations, again, revenue sharing. I wouldn't be surprised if the players go, yeah, we are in favour of this. if we get a stake of the pie of above 4, because I believe revenue sharing at the moment is 60-40 league player. The players may go, okay, then we'll sign off and we'll agree to this CBA. Want a bit more revenue sharing, because without us, the games can't take place. And this is where I think the NRL needs to resolve their CBA and get an agreement and avoid a potential player strike. It's the players in this regard, if the league is serious about going to Vegas, hold the power. And that is key. And I think that hasn't been brought up in the mainstream media with other, podcasters and YouTubers, is the potential for the RLPA to completely derail these games in Vegas. So there we go. Is this a good idea for the league? Could this be the positive growth the international game needs by getting more eyes on the product of the sport of the NRL? Because the international game, while I enjoyed the World Cup at the end of last year, I don't feel it was as good as the 2017 tournament. And there was a lot of empty seats in traditional rugby league heartlands, which was a concern for me as a rugby league fan, that there were a lot of empty seats and they weren't selling out even the smaller stadiums. So how the game promotes itself, this could go a long way into really positively encouraging North American fans to buy in, more money for the game, and the potential to help grow the game internationally. But we'll see what happens. We'll see if these games actually get signed off. We'll see if they take place. I'm hoping they take place because it's something new. It's something interesting. I also hope if they do take place next year that the NRL make a long-term commitment over many, many years to continue with a North American series, such as taking games to Vegas, San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, somewhere in the western side of the US for time zone, but continue long-term to take games to the US and Canada and have a long-term road plan and commitment. Because again, this is where the South Sydney Rabbitohs were like, is there a long-term plan here? We want a long-term plan. We want a long-term commitment, and then we'll sign up. So we'll see what happens, but that's a brief discussion of the NRL plans to take games to Las Vegas in 2024. Will it be a good idea? Will it work? Will it be the right way to grow the game internationally? We'll place your thoughts in the comment section below. But for me, for now, thank you very much for watching, and I will have some more content for you very, very soon.